Hi, welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus is a show designed for adults over the age of about 50 or so, although you don't have to be that age. You may have family members, relatives, neighbors that you know that are over 50. We're going to be talking today about assisted living, but before we get into that, I want to thank Keith Kaiser from Mill Creek Metro Parks for allowing us to use the Davis Visitor Center, and thanks to Greg Roden, who produces the show for Armstrong. And if you happen to miss any of the show, you can always go to OnDemand, and also eventually the shows are on YouTube. And one other thing that's relatively new, we have a Facebook page, just Senior Focus TV on Facebook. So again, we're going to talk about assisted living today, and to help us discuss that topic, we have Jill Cox. Jill is RN, correct?
Yes.
And she's the director of Paisley House, and welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you today.
Well, we're going to mention several times during the show where Paisley House is and contact information, but why don't we start out with that, and again, we'll mention it other times.
Sure. Paisley House is located at 1408 Mahoning Avenue, and we're actually right at the end of the street where the Davis Center is located. It's been there since 1909, and a lot of people don't recognize the or they recognize the building but don't realize that it's an assisted living building.
And what's your phone number if people wanted to get in touch with you?
It's 330-799-9431.
And you also have a website.
We do, paisleyhouse.com.
Which is where I found a lot of good information about Paisley House. And we actually did a show maybe a couple years ago now. Your predecessor was here.
Yes.
And, well, not here, because we were actually over there at Paisley House. And again, we're going to talk about Paisley House in particular, but also assisted living in general. And why don't we start off with that a little bit about assisted living. What is assisted living in relation to other forms of long-term care?
Assisted living, I like to say, is usually probably the step before somebody needs long-term care. Maybe you're looking at a situation where you feel like mom or dad or someone is just not safe in their home anymore, needing a little bit of assistance with bathing, or that you notice that they're getting a little confused and they need supervision. Maybe they're not eating well, and they're not eating every meal, and you notice that they're losing weight, that they're not taking their medications regularly, and they seem to be in and out of the doctor's office a lot. Assisted living meets that concept there so that we can make sure that they're getting their medications. But yet, if they're still independent, they could still kind of come and go if they, still drive. We don't take their cars away from them. And but we do provide transportation, so maybe they're not safe to drive. So it's not, I hate people to think that assisted living means I'm that much closer to long-term care, because actually what assisted living does is it extends people's life because they're healthier, because they're eating well, they're getting all their medicines, they're getting to their doctors regularly. We're noticing if someone's blood pressure's off, if their weight's up or down. So it's just a really good supervision that keeps people healthier longer.
Well, that's a good way to think of it, I guess. If the alternative is if you're living alone, again, you're not taking care of yourself as much, or, you may be, and also loneliness is another thing, if you're, be by yourself if you don't get out much.
Yeah, and that kind of goes both ways, because some people think, I like to live alone, and if I move into this social setting, they're going to always be in my face, and they're going to always be bothering me. And that's not true of assisted living. You have your own private place, and you can choose to do as much as you want in an assisted living community as far as their activities and programs that are going on. Of course, they're going to make you come to the meals and things like that, but there's some communities out there that'll even deliver meals to people's rooms. I don't think that's healthy, because I think that's the social part that keeps people healthy, is sitting and eating. We eat more when we eat together, and so people develop better appetites in that. But you do have your own privacy too, and I think that there's a balance between privacy and loneliness, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Well, with Paisley House, now, how long have you been there?
I've been there since July of last year.
Okay. And
I've been involved in assisted living for 18 years
well,
now,
that's what I was going to ask.
Right.
How did you get involved with it originally? What kind of led you into assisted living?
Yeah, my first job, I was hired before Levy Gardens was built. It's part of the Youngstown Area Jewish Federation.
Sure.
And they were in the building process, and I was hired there. And I came on board to write all of their policies for the building, hire all of the staff, and then bring in all of the residents and actually help, move out the residents that were declining over the years. And I worked there for 13 years and loved the job, and decided that I wanted to see what the profit side was, and what a mistake. I'm glad to be back in the nonprofit world.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and that's, again, talking about Paisley House, let's talk about some of you're actually run by a board. It's a nonprofit, and you can explain that.
Yes, we have a board of trustees that was developed, the history of Paisley House in 1909. Some civic-minded women got together and decided that they wanted a place to age and someone to take care of them so they wouldn't be alone, and they built this house for the assisted living concept, which nobody had the assisted living concept over 100 years ago. Basically, assisted living just kind of started booming probably in the last 20 years.
Right.
And yeah, and so it's amazing to say that I'm part of history of this building that's been here for 100 years. But our Board of Trustees has always tried to maintain the values that were set into place from the original women that put this together. And our Board of Trustees seeks out, we have a Bricksters fund that goes out to raise money. We also have several foundations and trusts that have been given to us over the years that help support our building. And our Board of Trustees is very careful on how we spend those monies so that we're providing quality care to the people who move in, but not charging beyond their means.
And if we could, maybe we could talk about some of the details of, again, what the charges are.
Sure. It's $2,000 a month for your rent, and that would give they have bedrooms there, where some assisted livings may have complete apartments. Our building's designed a little bit differently because it's an older home. So it gives you your bedroom, and you can bring your own furnishings, or we'll provide furnishings. And it does provide all of the services that we offer, which is having a nurse aide help with anything, bathing, dressing, anything that you would need there. We have nurses if you have any treatments that need done, monitoring someone's oxygen, giving them breathing treatments, passing their medications. We provide 3 homemade meals made in the kitchen there, and they're good meals, and everybody ends up putting on weight, whether it's employees or residents moving in.
Well, how about exercise, maybe to work that
well,
out?
And that's why we have exercise.
Okay.
And Robin Ramito is my activity director, and she truly believes in exercise because she suffers from fibromyalgia. And so she's very big on that we have to keep moving, and she has all different forms of exercise that she does, and we pretty much exercise 5 days a week there. And so we can get them as involved as they want to be, and we really encourage the exercise, though. It's very important. We don't want anyone to get too sedentary, and the more active they are, the healthier they stay.
Yeah, just the location, I would think, you were just pointing out, it's just down the street from the Davis Center here. So you're across the street from Mill Creek Park.
Yes.
And I would imagine that opens up a lot of possibilities for activities. I mean, you could...
The park is beautiful. I wish that people on walkers walked better on some of the surfaces of the park, though, so that we could actually get out and enjoy more of the park. You have to be very careful on outdoors with people on walkers as they're going on different surfaces. But we do ride through the park often. We are coming over. We did come see the orchids that they had here.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we do enjoy the park. And even we're doing an outing right now and going to the Daily Grind up in Boardman. It's a little coffee shop. But in order to get there, we don't drive up Market Street. We drive through the park, so that the ladies can see. They all grew up, in the park.
And I think there's a new trolley, again, another plug for the park, but they have a new trolley that takes hour-and-a-half tours I just got something in the mail about that.
You know, and I saw that too, and I'd like to inquire about how we get that for our ladies.
Sure, sure.
So, yes, I try to keep up with what's going on publicly too. So,
Well, not only do you have outdoor activities and things around the area, but you have a new resident, well, relatively new, your dog, correct?
yes,
Yeah.
Libby, yes.
You want to talk about that?
Sure, I think most people have heard about Libby because she's been in the news quite a bit, but I'm a Facebooker, and I'm friends with Angels for Animals on Facebook, and they had a story about Libby who lived with an elderly couple, and they were going into a nursing home and couldn't take care of her, and she needed a home, and she didn't like to be alone and left alone, so they were worried if somebody would try to adopt her that worked, it wouldn't work out for Libby.
Right.
And I thought, oh, well, Libby would never be alone at Paisley House because the people live there. And so I contacted Angels for Animals, and they graciously brought Libby over. We fostered her for a while, made sure that we took a vote, and we had a unanimous vote amongst the board, the staff, and our residents to keep Libby.
Good.
And so Libby is living at Paisley House around the clock, and the residents love her, and so does the staff. We all enjoy getting out and walking her. I walk her during dessert at lunchtime every day so that I don't eat dessert. So she's kind of been a, blessing for all of us. And she's just a sweet dog. She's not a dog that gets in your face. She's just a dog that wants to lay down on the floor next to people.
Right.
Yeah, and so she's been a real pleasure to have. And then Angels for Animals also, since they were so gracious with us and didn't charge us for her adoption and worked with us as one nonprofit to another, we have agreed to be a drop-off site for, not for animals, please don't bring me animals.
No animals.
Wish list items, things that they need to take care of their dogs and cats at Angels for Animals. So if people don't want to drive all the way out to Canfield during business hours, they're welcome to drop things off at Paisley House. We store them in the garage, and then we get them out to them, or they come pick them up.
So things related to the care of animals.
Yeah, the busy bones that they like for the dogs, and anything to take care of the cats and cat litter, and beds and newspapers and just all different things, blankets, everything that they need to take care of their animals. They have a lot of cleaning supplies on that list too, like Clorox and different things that they need for cleaning. So.
Well, and you have a similar list, but it's for people. I saw that you have sort of a wish list for Paisley House for things you could use, at least on your newsletter.
We send our newsletter out quarterly because our wish list tends to change, and some of the things that we put on there tend to people deliver, and it's very nice. We had a camera on there, and we got a phone call right away of somebody who wants to bring us a camera. And so we were real happy about that. And then we put on a fire pit because we're thinking of having a little fire pit for the ladies in the evening.
In the back of the area.
And and where it's safe and where we wouldn't get cited for any fire violations or
Sure,
anything like that. And definitely totally controlled and supervised.
Right.
So, we have a lot of different things that we like to update in our newsletter. And so we're always looking for things like the wipe-off boards, things we can use for activities.
Okay.
Recently, we went out and did a lot of like antique shopping and garage sales, looking for teacups. We just had a English tea. And so all the ladies wore gloves, and we had the little, cloth napkins for each one of them, and everybody had a different teacup, and we just had a beautiful event, and it was just such a nice day. So our wish list can vary.
So that was something you got off of the wish list, the people donated?
Well, actually, one of my activity people, some of the people brought us things, but she ended up doing a lot of shopping and getting some of those items, but she really enjoyed it, so.
Well, again, at this point, why don't we give out contact information about Paisley House? Again, maybe phone number, your location, and website.
Sure. Paisley House is at 1408 Mahoning Avenue at the lower end of Mahoning, right at the end of the street where the Davis Center is located. And the phone number is 330-799-9431. We also have a website that is paisleyhouse.com. And if anyone has any specific questions and they'd like to email me, my email is very simple. It's jill@paisleyhouse.com.
That's easy enough. And we talked about the bedroom. You have folks that long-term residents. I don't know if we talked about respite care, but do you want to talk about that?
I would love to, because I'm not sure that a lot of people in the area are still offering respite care. But respite care is a temporary stay in assisted living, and I'll give an example. I have a woman who comes and stays with us like 3 or 4 times throughout the year when the family's traveling and mom can't travel with them. And I say mom because we have mainly women, but we've had men over the years.
Okay.
So we tend to say ladies a lot when we talk to Paisley House, but we also can accommodate men.
That's good.
We just tend to have more women. But anyway, so she comes like 3 or 4 times throughout the year, and she stays with us for a week at a time. So we charge $100 a day for a respite. We have to do a regular admission packet so that we understand what kind of care that they need while we're taking care of them. But one of the advantages of that, and this just happened last week, we got a call from that family member and said, Mom wasn't scheduled to be there, but we had a death in the family and we need to travel. Can we bring her? And we already know her, and she came and stayed with us for the week while the family went out of town for the funeral.
Okay, almost
So-
a vacation home. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I guess, and she loves coming, and she's very pleasant, and we've been able to kind of keep the same room for her, which I hope to fill all those rooms.
Sure.
But, yeah, and so respite care is a neat concept. We also have had people that try respite care before actually moving into assisted living. They'll come on a temporary stay and see if they like it. A lot of them have just converted into a long-term stay there after trying the respite, but sometimes that's an easier concept to deal with than you've got to sell your house, you've got to move into assisted living, and we're doing this tomorrow.
And again, that's a point about, well, you mentioned selling the house, made me think about there's some places where there's a big upfront fee.
Right.
You have to, make a large donation or basically sign a check over. Again, that's not the situation here. It's sort of a month-to-month.
It's a month-to-month, but we do have a security deposit once you decide you want to move in. That is a $550 non-refundable security deposit. And there's a lot of processing of paperwork and things that the nurses have to take care of. So it just helps cover our expenses for that.
But it's not a multi-thousand-dollar
No,
type
we don't have
investment.
that. We want to keep it affordable. One of the things we talked about before we got started, we like to be that niche that's kind of in between people that aren't Medicaid eligible but don't have a lot of money to move into one of the homes that may be a little bit pricier.
Right.
So we like to, and the Board of Trustees will always continue to keep us at a fee that maybe would be affordable on people's retirement versus having to dip into other things, so they're very careful about that. The Board of Trustees is very involved with our ladies. They all come to the building on a regular basis. They come for their lunch, birthday lunches with our ladies. Each one of them has a pal. They also will do activities with us in programming. One of them is from England and helped do our tea.
Okay.
So it was a true English tea.
She knew the rules.
Yes, and so they're very involved and they're very caring about the people. So it's more than just a board that's on the side. They're a very active board.
And again, over 100 years, 105 years now, I guess.
Yeah, 106, I think.
Coming up,
yeah, it's amazing.
Now, this is, again, part of assisted living, and as part of that, again, you can research out there on your own. I went through the Ohio Department of Aging. They have a long-term care consumer's guide, which will list, and I think if I went through real quick, it was about 24 assisted living that are licensed. And you want to explain about your license that you have?
The license for assisted living in Ohio is called residential care facilities. And when you look us up sometimes, you might find, instead of Paisley House, you might find Home for the Aged.
Right,
Because that was the original name of the building, and then they transitioned into the Paisley House, and sometimes it has both Paisley House, Home for the Aged. But you'll also find on that site that we have a resident satisfaction survey.
Right.
That was recently done, and we scored the highest in this area, and
98.86 was what I
Thank you.
recall. So
Yes.
which
And-
is as close as you can get to 100%.
And we were very excited about that, but we would hope for that because we know that the care that we give there is good quality care, and we do really love on our residents.
Yeah.
So,
And to explain, there are a couple things you could see there on that site. One is the resident satisfaction survey, And you want to explain what that is, what they come out and ask questions, basically?
Yeah, we're not allowed to be involved in it. They send an interviewer out,
Right.
and they pick random residents, and they sit down with them, and they ask them regular questions, and they all get asked the same questions, and then we get scored. And they ask questions related to, your housekeeping services, the laundry services, the food that they eat there, the activities, how much they pay to live there. It's a whole variety of questions.
Okay.
And they ask if they think that they're, being treated well, if they would refer people there. So they ask all different kinds of questions.
So it's an independent survey, and again, it's standardized throughout the state.
Yes.
And then the other piece of information you can get is you have regular Department of Health, I believe, surveys. Is that who comes out?
We do. We
Okay,
do. And
and-
we also have Youngstown City comes and
okay.
surveys us also. And we had, both of them, we had no citations.
Right,
So I've
which-
completed both since I've been there.
Okay, yeah, and again, you could look through for the county, and I went through not all of them, but, mostly there were 1 or 2 citations from what I saw, but again, none was, that's as good as you can get.
Yes.
So again, we're talking with Jill Cox, who is the director. She's an RN with Paisley House on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown. And you talked about the history starting in 1909. So the board has been in existence, or this concept, since then, 100 years?
Yes, yes. It has not changed what it does there, basically.
But
So-
you've had updates to the home, I imagine? I mean,
The side porches have been converted into, as you know, because you were there last year, a library and a sun porch. And then
Okay.
they've added a courtyard, a gated courtyard, so that the ladies can go out there. But the main structure of the building has not changed. They have bedrooms and they share bathrooms, but we have plenty of bathrooms throughout the building. They share the living room, the dining room. We have a beauty shop that's in the basement. They can take the elevator down to get their hair done. And I like the fact, this is something different that Paisley House does offer. Paisley House pays every week for our ladies to get their hair washed and set, which is unusual. If they choose to get a cut or a perm, they'll pay, which is not expensive. But that's something that we want to offer to our ladies so that they feel good when they're there.
so that's all included?
That is
the-
included
yeah.
in that $2,000 also, and I think that's kind of unusual.
Yeah, I don't get free haircuts. So.
No, right.
Not too many, I'm sure not too many
And
places offer.
I do have to mention too, our laundry services, I believe, are impeccable. The girl that works in laundry will spot treat things, she'll sew things. We iron for them and put their laundry back in their rooms.
Oh, okay.
So I think that that's above and beyond what you're going to find at most places also.
And you mentioned that people can bring their own furniture in.
They can,
Do a
yes.
lot of folks take that opportunity to bring things in?
You know what, I would have thought they would, but it's funny when they come in and they're like, no, I like this room, because we have all of our rooms furnished. So if they bring things, we move our furniture out, we leave them all furnished.
Right.
And they tend to not, which I would think, that they would want to, but I'm surprised that they just like what we have in there and they go with it.
Might be, yeah, it's something new, a little
Yeah,
different.
I would want to bring my favorite chair and my dresser, but some of them don't.
But again, you have a number of activities during the day, and I know there's not really a typical day, but, how does it sort of flow? Do people get up at a certain time, or how does
Yeah,
that
they
work?
come down to breakfast usually around 7:30 in the morning. And then after breakfast, most of them go back to their room because they can come down in their house coat. They don't have to be dressed for breakfast.
Okay.
And so, they have to have clothes on.
Right. But
But they
you
can
don't
come
get
in their
real dressed,
pajamas
right?
and their robe.
Well, that's good.
So they usually go back to their room and get ready, and then by 11 o'clock, we bring all of the ladies down into the living room. And there's either an exercise or a trivia kind of thing, just to get current events, just something to get their brains working and their bodies going. And then we all have lunch together. We sit together, the staff eats with them. We pray before each meal. It's just a really nice, quaint environment. And then we, after lunch, usually have an activity that goes on in the afternoon, somewhere around 1:30 to 2:30. We eat dinner again at 5, and then they might have an evening program going on. So that's kind of a layout of the day, but it could vary.
Now, how about family involvement? If folks, do they help assist their mom or dad or, aunt or uncle maybe to move in. Do you have programs where the families will come in, or are they allowed to come in basically at any time? Or
They can come visit whenever they would like. We do invite families to have meals with us when they want, and coming for their birthdays and things, so that we can plan special things around their birthday. We have several families who do help us as volunteers when we do outings. And some of them, if they have something special that they'd like to do with the ladies, we will get them involved. We love to have the families involved in visiting and having them, there. It's important to our ladies, so we try to keep our families well involved. And we always have a big picnic in the fall every September, and we invite all of the families, and you can have as many people as you want from your family to come. And we have a big celebration with all of our families. Our board members are there, all of the staff families are even invited.
Maybe by that point, if it's this fall, you'll have the fire pit going.
I may have to be careful with the fire pit for the number of people that are there, though.
Yeah,
it has to be very supervised.
Right, you don't want a huge crowd, I guess, for that. And again, this is all as a nonprofit, so would you want to talk a minute or two about how people in the community, in addition to if they're interested in coming to sign up or to move in, but just other folks who might be interested in helping out? I mean, do you take donations?
We do. We have a Bricksters fund that's going on right now, and if you haven't received something from that and you would be interested, we could get something out to you, but we take donations from anyone, and of course we're a 501c3, and it could be a write-off for you and your taxes. But we also work with the Youngstown Foundation, so that if we get something that's over $100, we ask that people write it into the name of the Youngstown Foundation, because then we get that extra percentage back from them.
Oh, good.
So,
there's a match,
yes,
small match.
Yes. So we try to encourage that if it's over $100.
Okay. Is there anything about Paisley House that we haven't talked about, or some of the things that you wanted to just highlight?
I think one of the special touches at Paisley House comes a lot with our dietary department also. It's not just a dietary department, but it's a home-cooked meal that these ladies get. We eat the larger meal at lunchtime and something lighter at dinner. But we also make a special event for each one of them on their birthday, and they get to pick their birthday meal, and we cook it for them. And it's a really nice touch. It's a really nice environment. It's a very homey environment when we're all sitting down together to eat, and the staff is right there, and we try to mingle with the residents and sit with them. And we change seats in there regularly too, which has not been an easy task in other places, but the ladies are really gracious with it here, and then they all get to know each other.
Oh, so mingle and get to know other folks,
and they sit with different ladies on a quarterly basis, and I really like what we offer at our meal times. So I've invited a lot of people in the Tri-County meetings and that in the community that if you haven't seen Paisley House, please come and have lunch with us one day. Call me and schedule it, and come and see what we're all about. But I think our meals are so special that I try to get people to come have lunch, and you should come have lunch one day too, Bill.
I will take you up on that. And why don't we give out the contact information one last time?
Sure. It's Paisley House is located at 1408 Mahoning Avenue, the lower end of Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown. The phone number is 330-799-9431. We are located at paisleyhouse.com, and if you want to reach me personally, my email address is jill@paisleyhouse.com.
Well, thanks, Jill, for coming on.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Sure.
This has been a pleasure.
And again, you've been watching Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. We come to you through Channel 20 and 100 on Armstrong Cable, and thank you to Greg Roten, who produces the show. Again, if you missed any of the show or want to see it all again, you can go to OnDemand, or also try us on YouTube. Just type in Armstrong Cable and Senior Focus. One last plug is for our Facebook page. If you go on Facebook, you can go to Senior Focus TV. And thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you again.